Hey folks, let's do a setup video for Dragons Down. Now this is not the most professional video I've ever made, but it is such a beautiful day in Grand Lake, Colorado that I couldn't help myself. So let's get started on the video. Okay, so first things first, decide which terrain packs you're going to play with. And in this case, I'm doing it with all three of the Cruel Caves, Wicked Woods, and Malevolent Mountains from the base set of Dragons Down. For each of those, you'll shuffle your wilderness tokens and place them in the designated areas on those terrain cards. Next, you'll take these civilization tokens, which are these white ones. You'll shuffle them up. There are 2 per terrain pack, so in this case, you're creating just a pile of 6. You'll also take all of the site tokens from the terrain packs in play and mix those together. If you have the Dragons Down Desolation, there's also the Perilous Plains and the Sinister Swamps, which add additional civilization tokens, additional site tokens, as well as, of course, their own set of wilderness tokens as well. Okay, next what you'll do is you'll build a mission deck. The missions have in the lower left, that's lower left there, an icon corresponding to their terrain pack. Mix together those missions, in this case, obviously the mountains, the woods, and the caves, shuffle those together and set those near the player board for easy access. Okay, you'll shuffle the spell deck of spells that heroes can find. You'll shuffle the treasure cards, and you'll shuffle the deep treasure cards, each of those individually, and set them aside. Next, you'll take out the monster trays corresponding to the terrain packs in play. In this case, we have the Cruel Caves. Let me reach with my other hand so I don't create shadows. The Cruel Caves, the Wicked Woods, and the Malevolent Mountains. Now, in my set, I have put the adult dragons and the orcs in, as well as the elementals, which can come via spell. I put them in their own tray. We provided extra trays so that you could do that. These monsters go across all of the terrain packs, and so I just always take them out. So take out these 4 monster trays and you're ready to go. Okay, we also place the legend, fame, and gold tokens within easy reach. I forgot those inside the cabin, so my apologies, but those would be right there. And then finally, you shuffle all of the map tiles for the terrain packs in play. Normally, there are a couple different ways to play the game. Open realm, you take all of these tiles, deal them out randomly to the players, and then build the map. The next thing you want to do is roll a d6 to randomly determine where on each of these civilization tiles these buildings go. And I did do that prior. And then place the corresponding natives that apply to that particular civilization location. The dwarves in the mine, place them in their proper location. So here we have the priests, and the priests start at the sanctuary. And finally you have the knights, and the knights go at the keep. If you're playing an exploration game, shuffle these tiles, place a random civilization tile, which have the white text, the sanctuary, the mine, and the keep in this case. Place it in the center of the table. I'm hoping that's a dog and not a wolf. And then what you do is you can explore from there. You just set up the one tile and you grab off of the pile. That completes the general setup. I'm going to now show you how to set up a player. Let's talk about setting up our hero. Once you've completed the general setup, each player individually will set up their own hero. They will take a hero board and a reference card and place them side by side in front of them. This card shows how you win the game. It also shows you on the back side various curses that may afflict you during the course of the game. My apologies for that as the designer. Okay, so the first thing that a player will do is they will look through the deck of lineage cards, and there are 4 different lineages to choose from. There are 4 halfling cards, 4 elf cards, 4 dwarf cards, and 4 human cards. It's worth noting that all of the cards in any particular lineage are identical in capability, but there are different representations on each side, and a player is free to choose one that they are comfortable with or that they feel best represents their current mood or state. In this case, I'm going to pretend that I'm an incredibly good-looking, well-built man. Okay, so those are my capabilities as a human. The next thing I'll want to do is grab a class card. Now you'll note a few things. Number 1, there are cubes along the bottom. If the brown cubes are speed cubes, the red cubes are might cubes. If all that are shown are brown and red, this is a melee character or a martial character that does not use magic. They are a little bit easier to play, but frankly, you could play your first game with a spell casting character. In this case, this archer or warrior or knight, as you can imagine, these folks are all big into combat. There also are, the warlock or the barbarian would be a melee character as well. The illusionist. Note that there are 7 different colors of magic, and which ones you choose determine the types of spells that you can cast. In this particular example, I'm going to play a human sorcerer. Now, by combining those cards together, I have created a unique hero. And frankly, if I had chosen to be a dwarf sorcerer or an elf sorcerer, my capabilities would be very different. You are not a sorcerer class as your hero, you are a human sorcerer. And that's a very important distinction about Dragon's Den. Okay, so what do these symbols mean? Well, we first off have a lineage advantage and a class advantage. The rulebook covers those, and I'm not going to go through them here. The yellow icons represent your cunning, your wisdom, and your charisma, all of which enhance how well you do in society. So primarily in the base game, that has to do with missions and the rewards you receive for missions. The more cunning or intelligent or charismatic you are, the more rewards you will receive for completing missions. The next row shows our health, and I am not a sturdy fellow. We place 1 heart, because 1 heart is shown there, in our healthy box on our player board, our hero board. You'll note that this is the healthy box, this is the wounded box. If at any time there are no hearts in your healthy box, congratulations, you died. Okay, the next row is our attack speed, and here we see that I can attack quite fast. That's how quickly I cast spells or use a weapon or something along those lines. It's important to note that these boxes represent potential. They are only activated when I place cubes in them. I can place anywhere from 0 to 3 cubes in my attack speed. I can place anywhere from 0 to 2 cubes in my maneuver speed. And the maneuver speed is how quickly I'm trying to dodge an attack. And these are important determinations to make during combat, depending on the monsters that you might be fighting. We're not going to cover the specifics of combat in this video. This is merely about how to set up the game. You'll see down below cubes that you receive. In this case, I receive 4 speed cubes. So we place that in our healthy box. I receive 1 might cube. I place that in my healthy box. I receive 1 sorcery cube. I place that in my healthy box. And I place one either sorcery or conjuring cube in my healthy box. Just to be different, we will select a conjuring cube. Those are my starting capabilities. I'm pretty fast, not very strong, not very, my constitution isn't that great, and I do have the ability to cast 2 different types of magic. If we look down here on the equipment kit that I selected, you'll notice, I should probably have mentioned this, that these cards are double-sided. I could have chosen a sorcerer that starts with 10 gold and 3 spells, but instead I chose to be a sorcerer that starts with 1 fewer spells, but has more gold and a dagger. So let's grab our gold. We receive 15 gold. I'll take this, I will place that in my backpack. Note that if you added in or purchased the Legend Edition, you would receive metal coins instead of the cardboard tokens. Okay, the next thing is I receive 2 spells. So for that, we look at the Hero Starting Spells deck, and it's important to note, use the Hero Starting Spell deck, not the spell deck. Once the heroes have selected their starting spells, this deck is placed back in the box and is not used during this game session. So we look through here and we find all of the purple and blue spells. There are 36 possible spells in total. In this case, here are the blue spells. There's a great variety of them. There are 5 purple spells as well. And then finally, there's a universal spell that cancels other spells. In this case, I want to take Shapeshift. That's a great spell. We'll select that one. And then I can grab one more spell. There's Fireball, Fly. There's some really cool choices. I want to be able to cast Tentacles. Now, the spells I can select must correspond to the cubes I have. And again, this universal break spells can use any colors. So this is available to every spellcaster. Okay, if multiple heroes need spells from the same color, randomly determine who gets to select first. Okay, so we now have our setup. The final thing to do is to grab our hero chip and our targeting token, which serves 2 purposes. The first is during combat, it specifies who I'm targeting. The other thing is it's used to determine turn order. We now have completed the setup of our player. Grab 4 status cubes, place those in your status cube box. These are used to mark various statuses on your player board. You're now ready to play the game. I do want to point out 2 quick things that are meaningful. You'll notice that if I had, instead of being a human, had decided to play a dwarf, you'll notice that my characteristics change immediately. I only would have started with 3 speed cubes, but I would have had an additional might cube. I also would have had an additional heart, so I would have more health. I also have a different makeup of attributes, and finally, note that I have an additional maneuver speed instead of an additional attack speed box. So my capabilities are very different by playing a dwarf sorcerer versus a human sorcerer. The other thing I wanted to mention is that if you pledged for the Dragon's Down Desolation, you have 6 additional lineage cards, adding in the half-elf and the half-orc characters, lineages, and you have 12 additional classes to choose from, all of which are very, very unique. Okay, so that complete setup. At this point, we're ready to begin our adventure.